Today is May 18th, 2020. This is Jan Triplett. I'm your host for Boss Talks, and I have with me a special guest who's going to let me talk to him about some of what he has discovered in his multiple roles as a leader and a manager. Dave Nave, welcome. So glad you're with me today.
Same here. I'm glad to be able to talk.
I wanted to give those of you who are listening to this a little bit of information about Dave. And Dave is on the West Coast. He is an author and a consultant and many other things. What you see on the slide is the cover of his very wonderful new book, Strategy Made Visible, Tangible, and Indispensable, by Dave Nave and Paul Osborne. It is a wonderful book with lots of pictures. And I told Dave that these are very interesting looks at how to make sure that you are organized and that other people can participate and that it really truly is visible and tangible and indispensable. On the left-hand side, you will see how to contact Dave if you would like to have him talk for your group, or you're interested in linking in with him, or just sending him an email. He is a wonderful resource, and I certainly encourage you to do that. So let me start, Dave, by saying why, or asking you a question, why did you decide to write this book?
As I've spent over 35 years doing process improvement and engineering improvement and those types of activities. And what I saw was people were very engaged when we started to put things up on the wall, make them visible, even if it's a standard flow chart or a VSM, value stream mapping map. And what I saw was these organizations had a rough time with the upper management and different areas of the company not integrating with themselves and not understanding how different areas of the company work together. We also saw an awful lot of strategy. There's a lot of strategy planning, but it's all done in isolation, removed out, and many times it's put in a 3-ring binder and put on a shelf and never seen again. And there's an awful lot of good knowledge in there that should be integrated into day-to-day management activities and shared not only within aligning and synchronizing the executives, but in sharing with the whole organization so everybody can understand it. And once this is put together and openness occurs and communication starts throughout the entire organization, usually just inquiries, but it's good communication. It helps the team come together and work together.
And that's a really important issue because all of us are having to team. I want you to, if you would, define for us the word process as it applies to any kind of an organization, whether it's a for-profit or nonprofit or government agency. There must be a really good definition. I've seen lots of different ones over the years.
It usually has some sort of input item, and then there's a change or a transformation, and then there's an output. And that's essentially how I define a process. It could be a process of filling out a form. You have the form, you have information, you combine the two, and then you send it to somebody else.
Is there a difference between a procedure and a process? Or do we just mix them up?
They're used interchangeably quite a bit. A process and a procedure. A procedure is usually a little more, okay, I'm gonna speculate here on my own.
Okay, that's good.
I usually say a procedure is more documented and followed more rigorously than a process. A process allows some input from the operator itself, the person doing it. otherwise, they're very close to each other.
And I think that what you've said is how we view it in the real world, and that's one of the reasons that I ask you to be here, because when we go out and back to our jobs or the businesses or whatever, is people throw these words around, and unless you kind of can communicate clearly, which certainly your book gives us a chance to do, we all get mixed up. I think about policies and procedures kind of being one and the same, but I think you've made a really good point in terms of details and things of that sort. I know you have a big issue, which I do too, about the difference between management and leadership and how that affects people. Would you talk about that a little bit?
Okay. And the distinction that I make is that you manage things, you lead people. So leading is a art of inspiration, of providing a vision, a goal, helping people aspire to achieve that level. Managing is following procedures, is making sure things are done. When you start to manage people, it's kind of it incites other people, and it forces a motivation that occurs that's not necessarily beneficial. All it does, if you try to manage people, all you get is compliance. And if you lead people, you achieve great inspiration. Is that?
And that is really important, because we're talking about managing, and we have an attitudinal component of that too, don't we?
Yeah.
We have
Yes.
to have people with the right attitude and buy-in, not just automatons or computers.
Yeah, management's a modern construct, artificial construct, and only been around for a couple hundred years. And the mistake that modern management makes is that they want to hire hands, and they want you to leave your head at home and head and heart at home, because all they want to hire is hands. So, and that's, fortunately, I see a shift in that occurring, not fast enough, but the industry's shifting. That people want to hire the whole person, not just the individual, not just the hands.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The old adage of just do what I tell you instead of don't think, don't ask any questions. That's going away. That's great.
What I'm hearing you say is really about communication and the importance of communicating both ways, from and to people. Am I on the right track?
Communications is a very large subject all by its little lonesome. And now you get into dialogues, and my favorite quote is from somebody that said that the biggest mistake in communication is that it actually occurred. So it's and the whole idea of what you think, what you say, how the other person perceives what you said, and what they think about it, how it goes into their head, is a very large subject. And yes, a lot of it is communication. It's aligning. It's creating a shared environment that we can all agree upon the definitions of, or operational definitions of, what we mean when we say such and such.
And
so yes, communications is extremely important, and along with respect for the individual. But
I want to come back to respect in a minute. One of the things that that occurs to me listening to your favorite quote is the issue of noise. And certainly, when we deal with technology as we are now, there can be a noise in the line, there can be noise in our heads. And one of the things that I think that your book really focuses on is eliminating as much noise as possible by making things visible and encouraging people to actively participate. how does that work out in real life? Do people really do this? Do they embrace this idea? Do you have to re help them rethink what they're doing?
Um, the- People, many times, people already think they know what they want, and they have to be open to exploring that or being able to communicate it. A vast majority of people don't. They don't think that they think they're doing a great job. They think they know exactly what they want, and if the people would just do what they say, what they say, they'd be fine. But it's the people that are open and willing to learn are the people that are most receptive to saying, well, that didn't come out right when I said this, and they see the reaction, and you say, well, maybe, sometimes many people will blame the other person for the reaction, but the ones that are introspective are saying, well, maybe I didn't say that right. Maybe I need to rethink how I communicated this to be more clear and to be more clear.
And certainly when we're talking about strategy, whether we're talking about internal governance, how we do it here, or external governance, how we comply with what somebody else tells us we have to do, is all of that is really important. And so is the word respect. I want to go back to that because sometimes all of us feel like Rodney Dangerfield, we don't get no respect. Where does respect fit into vision and strategy?
It fits into the creation of the vision and strategy in that the, it must be vision and strategy. The creation, the respect is the fundamental basis of the culture that creates the vision and statement, and the vision and, what'd you say, goals?
Strategy, but
Strategy.
goals is good.
Yeah, goals, same thing. It's
Yep.
if you have a respect for your people inside, for your company, for your customer, for your clients, for whoever you're working with, to realize that none of us are perfect, and none of us are, and we are all muddling along best we can, and be tolerant and respect. That's, to me, that's respect. Part of respect. It's crucial in creating an environment of which learning, which is a big on my list of learning and growth on what people should be doing throughout their careers. So it's fundamental, it's basic to allowing that learning to happen.
And those are really very helpful to those of us who are out there to think about the fact that it's not just something that you can, push button, get mortgage kind of thing. You really have to engage in it. Is there some technology that you do recommend that goes along with your book or along with your ideas of management and leadership that could help someone who was either a new manager or in a new business where they're having to create it from scratch? Are there any tools besides your book that you recommend?
Okay, I specifically do not recommend electronic devices and tools.
Okay.
We've been asked several times. I'm up in the Pacific Northwest. We have IT computer programmer people. They're thick as thieves up here. And everybody suggests, well, you ought to create something online that can do this. And the real progress occurs when you can sit down and talk with people. It's the interaction of people. It's not the knowledge. It's not the information being transferred. It's the relationships that are being developed. So no, Paul and I and others, there's a few others, specifically avoid bringing technology into this. So
what you
the
do
answer is no.
focus on, okay, what you do focus on though is engagement.
Is engagement. Yes. It's old style. But I've never seen anything more effective.
You know what? Me either. Thank you so much, Dave. Is there any last word that you'd like to share with us about management and leadership or strategy?
The only that it's an underutilized resource for the organization to use as a management tool. Well, this book is a tool, but it's a tactile tool.
It is, and you have to fill in the blanks.
There's a lot of blanks. Yes.
Again, thank you so much, Dave Nave, for your time today. This is Jan Triplett. Thank you so much for being part of our Boss Talks today, and I hope you got as much out of this discussion as I did. Thanks again, Paul, so much.
Thank you, Jan.
So please remember to contact Dave and to look for his book at Amazon and to link in with him. So this is Jan Triplett. Hope to see you at the next Boss Talks.